Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome to HHC number 18. I'm here, Chris. I'm here with my brother Jake. Jake, how you doing today?
I am wonderful after last night.
Uh, yeah, and we'll get a chance to talk about that a little bit more. Minus Josh for right now. We might get him a little bit later, but we're here on a Sunday, ready to talk some Spurs ball. We had a pretty eventful week. I mean, 5 games is a lot of games. And then obviously the continued talk of lineups, and then as well as some of the like LA retiring. It's a little bit there was a lot of things that happened this week in the Spurs universe. So happy to be here, happy to jump in and kind of talk talk with you guys or about all of it, right? So we do go live every Sunday at 10 a.m. over through our YouTube channel, our Facebook channel, and over on on Twitter with the Periscope app. So check us out. Like I said, we're here every single Sunday. We'd like to have people jump in and join in on the discussion. It helps kind of fuel the things that we want to talk about throughout the stream or whatever. And as you can see down on the bottom, we do have our Twitter account at Heroes Half Court. We're also on Facebook at Heroes Half Court as well. Don't really post there as much. Mostly just reposting the links when they go live on Sundays and stuff. But yeah, so we're around talking Spurs. So. I would like to just jump right into it, Jake, because I mean we had a lot of games, and I feel like over the course of the 5 games we had a lot of different types of wins and different types of losses. So I mean, yeah, it was a lot of good stuff. So we can start however you want to start us off.
Yeah, honestly, if we just get into the weekly thoughts and I guess real quickly to-do list, but I do think we do. I'd like to talk a little bit about LA and just him retiring. It was very unfortunate to hear what like the reasoning as to why he has to retire.
Mm.
And then I mean like I had been like one of those guys on Twitter the entire time that he signed with the Nets, like trying to tell people like y'all think he's not gonna do anything because he was playing with the Spurs and he was doing whatever he was with us. But once he goes into a system with a bunch of superstars and can just get his due and just play very like maximize just his role specifically without having to do too much or without having to do too little, I think it was going to be a perfect fit for them. And it just sucks to see that he has to retire. But
Yeah, he even mentioned in his post too about like thank you to Brooklyn for like in a game that is changing, you guys came and wanted me to be me, right? So
mhm.
yeah, I think you're correct. He obviously when you're playing on a team that has that many stars, it's easier to have more impact at that diminished role than if you would have went somewhere else and had to have been a big piece or stayed with us or became a bench play. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like you're saying, man. It's kind of reminiscent of the Chris Bosh stuff. It was like you knew that he could still play. I mean, he was only a few years removed from all the stuff that he was doing with Miami and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So, yeah, man, really unfortunate set of circumstances. But at the same time, I think the general consensus, is like congrats on a long career. And most people would rather see him happy and being able to be a father and do all those things and enjoy retirement. 15 years in any career, much less having to be in the public spotlight, and it's got a lot of demands to it, even though the rewards are pretty crazy, a lot of money and all that kind of stuff. So he'll get a chance to enjoy the things that he's worked for, right? The things that he's worked for over the course of his career. So yeah, man, real sad, but we're pulling for him to have a good retirement.
So real quick, if you could kind of think of something off of the top of your head, what was one of your favorite LMA moments?
I mean, it's a little bit frustrating, but I can like I just have like the general aesthetic feeling already, like coming back of knowing that when we were gonna have to play the Portland Trailblazers in Portland, I would say playing them at home was a little bit different, but going to Portland, it was always this feeling that like we just were gonna play kind of sloppy, and it's because they would kind of grind us and put us into the bad, like, you know what I mean? They would work hard to make us work hard, and so I knew it was gonna be one of those like grind out kind of ugly kind of games, and you just knew like you just know where these guys are automatic from. So more that's kind of like the heyday of me loving LaMarcus Aldridge was watching him, play against us back in those Portland days.
Yeah, for sure. For me, honestly, like it was literally just like any time throughout the 16 and 17 year, whenever I would see LA, like he'd start to get his rhythm going, and then like you could just see like he'd see somebody like under the paint, and then just turn around, get like put his entire body around, and then just find himself right at the rim, dunking it, running back, and you just see the smug look on his face, like, I am that guy. And that was like one
Yeah.
of my favorite. Like those are what I remember. LaMarcus, like he wasn't a crazy dunker. He wasn't like ferocious, but anytime he did, and you got that look out of him, it was like, yes, LaMarcus.
Yeah, and
I love that.
he wouldn't necessarily go over anybody to dunk, but he did have a real nice where he would pull it off to his right side like this and
Yep.
kind of jam it in like that. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I enjoyed those as well.
And so there's definitely like I just remember like, in those years just seeing LaMarcus doing that and just enjoying it so much, just feeling the momentum that he would bring after doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So shout
all
outs
right,
to LA.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So moving on, we'll get into the just kind of go a little game by game, but not really like it's still like a weekly recap, and so it's not we're not trying to just subdivide it, but we're getting our overall thoughts. And honestly, for this, exactly like you had said, it was very up and down in the wins and losses. Like
Mhm.
the win against Dallas, the win against Toronto, or not Toronto, against Orlando, and the win against Phoenix, all three different wins. Like
Yeah.
the win against Dallas could have easily been a loss, but thankfully DeMar is killer. He's a cold-blooded killer, and said, "We're not going to OT tonight. We're just gonna go home." And I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. DeMar freaking came out and played against Dallas. I really liked what I saw. Honestly, the fact that we were able to like we matched them in the first, beat them in the second, beat them in the third, and beat them in the fourth in order to keep us still floating. Or I'm sorry, we lost in the second, but beat them in the third and fourth to keep us, in the game and stuff like that. And when you're playing against Luka Doncic and Kristaps, it's a little scary to see our team being in those close situations. But that's why you got DeMar on your team to be
Yeah.
that guy
Yeah, and
to
it's
coach
funny,
you.
because last week when we were previewing the Mavericks game, we talked about it in that lens about saying like, when you keep it that close, you give more and more advantages to the team who has the guy, right? It's kind of like how we were talking about it, and so it was cool, because most people would probably say that we don't have the guy, and you can still have your argument about whether you think DeMar DeRozan can take you X amount of places or what his ceiling is as a leader or as the best player. But I mean, he has the potential to be the guy when it's just a one possession game. He's up there. There's not many people that are going to be better than him at that position. You know what I mean? So it was cool to be able to kind of give it to them the way that we could feel that they have the potential to. And we've seen it the last couple times that we've played Dallas. It's been a close game until the end, and then their superstar just took over. So
Mhm.
it was good to kind of see us kind of make the plays, make the shots to get that win.
Yeah, and kind of got to give credit to DJ as well. Like DeMar had 33 8-5, and DJ had 25 5-5. So I'm looking at the rest of this. You see Lonnie down at the end of the box score with 13. See Jakob with 12. But it's like you look at this box score and you see that these points came from DeJounte and DeMar. Like these guys were like for this night they were the guys that we were going to. They were the ones that
Mhm.
that we had that we had put the ball in their hands and said, take us home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they both played extraordinarily well. But honestly, like just like you said about that start, Luka had 29, 7 and 3 on 10 for 17 shooting. Kristaps had 31, 3 and 15. So it's like, you you can't help but be a little wary about what's going to happen down the stretch if we are playing against those teams.
Yep.
I also kind of want to point out it was funny because I'm pretty sure last week I was talking to y'all and I was like scared of the Mavericks, but I was like, but I'm not scared of Portland. And look at how this week turned out. We ended up beating Dallas in a game winner and then losing to Portland in a close game without Damian Lillard as well. So going into honestly, we can kind of just skip past Orlando, right? Like I
Yeah,
feel like
well, I mean, I think, it just in the context, like we were saying about how there was many different kinds of wins. I think this was this was one of the few, because we haven't had many of them this year, where it was like, we know we should be able to take care of business and do this, and this to get a good win. And this was finally one of those games. And yeah, it took a really depleted Orlando team to kind of give us that, but I mean, it was a good opportunity for us to handle our business, so to speak, right? And just kind of had one of those kind of wins. So for that, I'm pretty grateful. Obviously there's not like a lot of flash and a lot of things that you can kind of bring out of the game, just because that your opponent's really depleted and really they're they blew their team up not that long ago. So it's understandable. But the one thing I want to point out is, like, okay, so DeMar with 19, DeJounte with 17, Derek with 15, Lonnie with 12, Drew with 10, Rudy with 12. Like, a lot of good spreading out of the ball over the course of the game. You know what I mean? And again, I know it's against go ahead.
Looking at the assists too, man. Six assists from DeMar, 5 assists from KJ, 6 assists from DJ, 4 assists from Derek. Freaking let's see, we go down here and we're seeing at least 1 assist from most of our bench unit. So that's like, passing the rock around, man. That's definitely something that want to be seeing,
Yeah.
Team playmaking. That's definitely one thing that I've been trying to say is, like, I think we have a lot of individual guys that are playing good, but we're not working well meshing well as a team sometimes, and I kind of want to get into that a little bit when we get into Phoenix, but we can talk about Toronto, which I think was probably the worst loss of the week, in my opinion. Just because, like, I mean, it shouldn't have been a loss. It should not have been a loss. Like that like the bottom line is, if you lose to the Mavericks, you lose to a team like Portland, even without Damian Lillard, and you lose to like Phoenix, which we didn't, right? But if you lose to any of those 3 teams, you understand like where the loss was coming from, which is Luka, which is CJ, which is Devin Booker, you know what I mean? So it's like you have those factors, but Toronto, that loss shouldn't have been there because they didn't even have Fred VanVleet. They didn't even have Kyle Lowry. Who else was out on the Raptors?
I think there was one other guy, but
Gary
it was
Gary Trent Jr. Who's like the another solid piece that's growing for them. So it's like that's like freaking 3 people. Like, yeah, they had Pascal, but you should be able to beat Pascal and a bunch of role players. You know what I mean? Like, it was just unfortunate to see that.
I mean, and people can probably hate on Rudy Gay or some of the stuff that happened during that game. Points distribution is okay. Lonnie only had 9 that night. Rudy only had 5 that night. Jakob only had 4, even though he's not a primary offensive thing. You still want him to be a little bit more involved in the game offensively than 4 points, and it's a 5-point loss, so it's a close game. So just little bits of contribution at certain times could make a huge difference. You know what I mean?
If all 3 of them at least make 1 more bucket,
Yeah, I mean, and look at the quarter distribution: 32 to 30, we won. So we win the first quarter by 2. We lose the second quarter by 3. We lose the third quarter by 2. We lose the fourth quarter by 2. So it's like real marginal things that created that loss. But it's like you said, it was like whereas the Orlando game was a good handle your business kind of game, the Toronto Raptors game was like we should have been handling a lot more business than it was way close for a lot longer than it needed to be. It was that was the one that was probably the most frustrating. And it just kind of, in my opinion, it was like throughout the course of the game, even if it's a close game, you give credit to the other team being an NBA roster regardless, right? You try to give them the respect. But when it came down to it, like the last I don't know, 7 to 8 minutes of the game, I never felt that there was that moment that we were like, okay, we have to switch our gears now from the game is playing, and now like it's winning time, right? Like we have to start to really clamp up and make these decisions to get the win. I didn't really feel that from us at all. And then it comes down to it. It's like 3 or 4 minutes, and now you're in it, and you're hoping that you get this win or whatever. You know what I mean? And so I would agree with you in saying that it was the most bad taste in your mouth when the game was over, and that's with the Portland.
Yeah, and this is a detrimental loss in my opinion, because when you're in the West fighting for those seeds, you can't like take these games and lose. Like if you lose against Portland and Dallas, it's like it hurts and stuff like that. But these are the games that every team should be winning.
You should be trying to make up the ground on the eastern side a little bit.
Exactly. So it's like, and especially when it's a depleted roster, and you're like, all right, let's keep boosting up the record and stuff. But it was very unfortunate to see. And I this was the game of the week where I was like tuning in and out, because in my head I'm like, all right, we should just have taken this game over. And then I look at it and I'm like, for fourth quarter, I'm like, what's going on here? And I watch the end of the game and I'm like, what did I just watch? Like, what happened? So it was pretty tough. And kind of going into the Portland game too, man. Like I said that the Toronto game was the most frustrating, but this can also kind of go down to it that they didn't have Damian Lillard. That's like a whole part of their offense that's not being there. That even though like CJ made up for it with 29, 6 and 2, Norman Powell with 24, 4 and 2, like it was still just something that like we should have won this game too, man. We were killing them in the paint. Anthony Simmons at the end of this box score right here saying he shot 5 for 10, getting 16 points for them. Like that's good for them, but like this should have been a game that we have taken over, because they didn't have Damian Lillard.
And is this the game? Is this the game where we shot pretty well from the 3-point line, or was that the Toronto game?
Let's see. If I go to the 3-point, it doesn't look like we shot well.
Oh yeah.
I'm
7 for 23 against Portland.
Oh, total.
And they went 11 for 29. So I mean, not like they made four more, but again, it's a 1-point loss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But let me see.
To be fair, this was the one that was kind of controversial at the end of the game. All night I had been defending Rudy Gay for what he had been doing, and I was like, guys, we need Rudy out here. Like, come on now, you can't not discredit Rudy. And then we watched the end of the game, and you can easily get mad at Derek for passing up his shot, but Rudy had a wide open look. Mm-hmm. And decided to take a sidestep 3 instead of going into the 2-point line and taking a cleaner, nicer selected shot. And it was just like, we only needed 2 points.
There was a lot of space around him, mm-hmm. and to just be able to get your feet set and get a good look up. Yeah, man, that's like, and I'm right there with you, because like same thing. Like there we were in the middle of talking, I think on Twitter, mm-hmm. Like while the fourth quarter was happening, we were talking about Rudy Gay's role in there, and it's like we've said it many times on this show already. Like at least I have, about like I think that he needs to be in there from a positional standpoint, helping out on the bigger side of the floor, and that's why he's in there. But yeah, it kind of shoots you in the foot, because that was a bad shot selection, and he does have some, he does have some. I would definitely acquiesce to that point. There are times when other people are moving the ball, and then when it gets to him, his immediate response is to go right to wherever spot that he's looking for and get the shot up. And sometimes I think that that's okay, but I could definitely see it where there are times where
it feels like he just kind of takes everybody's flow out of the offense.
Yeah,
like he just slows it all down for him, and it's a little Lamarcus-esque. that I see that, but it's not even that, like, because we would draw plays up for LaMarcus to get his shots down, and he couldn't. But for Rudy should be playing in the flow of the offense,
Yeah.
and
Now,
then every
now,
now and then he just
I
kind of.
don't mind, and you know, I probably there'll probably be a lot of people who disagree with me, but like I don't mind if he does that if it's like the product of 3 or 4 good passes and it swings to him and then he pushes right in, like makes a real quick decision to push into an open spot and to get a jump shot up or whatever. I'm not against that at all. You'll even hear, you'll hear like Sean Elliott say it all the time too. He was like, man, that's a great shot right there. Even if if he doesn't make it, but there are just a couple times where maybe like on 2 or 3 possessions in a row, we'll have a lot of good passing, which will lead to a pretty decent look, make or miss, and then we'll get to this next sequence, and instead of 3 or 4 good passes, maybe Rudy is like the recipient of like the first pass, and then instead he'll go right into something like that. And so like that's where I'm on the side of what other people are saying of like there needs to be moments where you're not really like, we're not looking to go through Rudy Gay. You got to move the ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it was just kind of like, I don't know, like I understand where people are coming from when they say like give Devin minutes, and obviously, I got my Devin Vassell jersey. I don't have a Rudy Gay jersey. You know who I'm advocating for. I want Devin to get PT, but
it's the name of our episode this week.
Yeah, exactly. And so like I understand where it comes from that you want to see those minutes, but like we need the bigs out there. Devin cannot play the 4 against people that are bigger than him. And in a game against the Trailblazers, when I look at their starting lineup and Robert Covington's their 4, or on the bench it's Carmelo Anthony, it's like I don't want to see Devin play against those guys because he's not as big as them. Like he's gonna get obviously Robert Covington's more perimeter based, so that's okay. But Carmelo Anthony will eat Devin Vassell. And so it's like
much literally much like a Rudy Gay.
And,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where Rudy Gay provides his time is in those big to little kind of matchups. And so
And so I don't want to see Devin get eaten up out there against those guys. Like I'd much rather see Devin play against Derrick Jones Jr. or let's see who is their backup 3. It looks like Nasir Little maybe. Honestly, they had a lot of guys playing a lot of minutes. So even so, like it was just like, I mean,
or maybe it's Norman Powell if they put
And so then so it was like I would never want to see Devin play a full like the bigger forward position. Like even if it is positionalist basketball, there's very few times where I see a skinny little guy playing next to a big at that point,
I mean, unless you're going like a real small ball,
exactly,
like one true center kind of thing or whatever.
And so it's just like he can't take Rudy's minutes. But when you see 20 minutes from Patrick Mills, like I said on Twitter, he doesn't get the Patty Mills for that night. He can get Patty Mills on almost any night, but when you're getting 20 minutes and you're 0 for 6, come on, Patty. It's like and even then, like I would have hated to see it, but if I saw 0 for 11 or 0 for 12, that means that Patty didn't stop shooting in the 20 minutes that he got. But like he usually gets around that many shots. You know what I mean? So it's like if he's not getting that many shots, well then he shouldn't be out on the court at all. So give Devin those minutes. Like, if I see Patty not shooting the ball, he doesn't need to be on the court. Give that to Devin.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I could see that for sure. And the more that we've gone on, because I would say that we've been a little bit more lenient or a little bit more open to showing the reasons why we need our veterans to be out there playing minutes alongside our young guys. And we honestly have been talking a lot about putting Derek White on the bench, and spreading our youth around a little bit more. So it's not like new, but at the same time, like, yeah, I'm definitely in agreement. There are many times where it could be a real simple, like, just try it, man. If Patty's not out there hitting, just try to put Devin in and see if we can get some other kind of spark going. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we had that close loss to the Blazers, but I'm pretty excited and pretty glad about how they responded and came back out last night to play against the Suns. I mean, again, we talked about a lot of different types of wins, and so this win last night, we hit a lot of jump shots, and I think at the end of the day, let me see what the team percentages were. Yeah, so for the game, we shot 50 and they shot 40%. But obviously 41% from three to their 22, and most of their 3-pointers came in the second half. So the shooting percentages probably added to the overall disparity, but really I think it was like our defense that just set us up to have a great night. I mean, I watched most of the game this morning, and I would say the first good look, and I wrote it down, the first good look that Devin Booker even gets in the game is like right before the halftime. He finally gets it comes off of a screen and gets like an open three, and I don't even remember if he made it, right? But it's like we were just doing such a good job of making him work for every single thing. I don't remember any of their role players kind of stepping up and making an impact on the game until the second half at all. Maybe Carter came out the bench and had some good stuff.
Cameron Payne, freaking, like, it was so dumb when I looked at the box score, because I noticed it a little bit, but Cameron Payne got like 12 off the bench on 5 for 11 shooting. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, and a lot of his Payne stuff came in the second. I don't know about the second half, but he got to the rim a couple times. But yeah, I mean, I think Carter did pretty okay for them.
Javon Carter. He was.
Yeah,
I've always liked his play, and then to see him playing on Phoenix and getting some good little shots up, I was like, oh yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, he was one of the few players that I actually like saw and got to see him for a couple games when like I was watching March Madness, because I don't normally watch a lot of college, but I did get to see his team play a couple games.
Yeah, and he's not a bad little guy. He's getting some good rotational minutes now and becoming a solid role player in the league. So.
Yeah.
But
yes, go ahead, Jake. What were your thoughts on this Phoenix game?
Literally, just real quick to go over the box score, holding DeAndre Ayton to 8 points and 9 rebounds on 4 for 9 shooting, like, that's amazing. That is
with the primary guy being Eubanks.
Yeah,
but we saw a little Keldon in there. We saw some Luka, like in terms
Luka
of
got 2 blocks, right?
In terms of actually like having to defend Ayton. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And then CP with 6 and I mean, obviously you can't hold CP's assist, but 6 and 6 on 3 for 10. That's even better. Like, come on now, guys. Like, that's a good night on our defensive end, just to keep adding to what you had said. We held Devin Booker to 15 on 6 for 18 shooting. Like,
yeah,
it's just a great night overall for our guys. And I have a lot to say about it because I was able to go rewatch it as well. And like, understanding that I knew that we were going to win this game because I watched it after. But so at that point I got to just, like, in a sense, analyze and just watch how the guys were doing instead of like being in the moment and being like, oh my goodness, are we going to win this game?
Yeah, because you already know the result basically.
Yeah. And so I have a bunch of notes like that I jotted down, ready to bring it out. And it, one of the things was that even though you see a guy like Javon Carter and Cameron Payne put up over 10 points on the bench, our bench murdered their bench. Like that's 2 guys on their team, but we had Devin, Lonnie, Rudy, all of them. Lonnie only had 9. Dang it. But Lonnie had 9, Devin had 18, and Rudy had 19. Like, it was just like, you see Gorgie Dang with 5 points and 10 boards. Like,
yeah,
our bench was just killer that night, and it was something that I definitely want to bring out, because it's like we didn't have a one-man show. We did not. It wasn't like the this is Lonnie's night, this is Devin's night, this is DJ's night. It was like everybody was just playing, and you could even say it was Lonnie's quarter, it was Devin's quarter, it was Keldon's quarter, because like there's points in that entire game where I'm like, Lonnie was killing it in the first half. Devin had been doing really solid throughout the entire game.
And that's why like even if you look at the box score and you're like, oh man, like Lonnie only had 9, Lonnie had 9, and Lonnie had a heavy influence on one big part of the game. So that's good. That's what you want to see.
And then and Keldon came out crazy in that third quarter. He was holding it down for us when, like, if we didn't have Keldon doing that, because like to your point, Lonnie came out in the first half really good, but then came out in the second half a little if I'm not mistaken, he honestly didn't make a single shot after the first half. And so it's like, I mean, you know, he slowed down, but we had other guys pick it up. We had people there to compensate. We had everybody there ready to do what they could. And one of the other things that I loved seeing was taking advantage of the matchups. They tried to do the same thing when you saw Chris Paul and Devin Booker against Luka Samanic, but Luka held his own. Whereas we had Keldon Johnson on Devin Booker, and I saw it multiple times throughout the game where Keldon just said, oh, I got D-Book on me. Shoot, I'm going to take him right off the dribble and drive at the rim because that guy's too little for me. And it was just, I love the play from that. I love that we were able to understand what we were doing without having DeMar to be a saving grace tonight. And like we were talking about Rudy and how sometimes he takes us out of the flow of the game. He had 14 shots and got 19 out of it. But I feel like at least in the quarters that I was able to watch, because I wasn't able to get into the fourth quarter all the way, Rudy was playing in the flow of the game. He was not doing anything too crazy. I know if you go to my personal Twitter, I recorded it and I put it to Twitter as soon as I could, because that one play where Trey Jones had got it right out to Rudy, and instead of Rudy just trying to catch it and shoot it from right there, he saw Lonnie wide open.
You talking about where he like jumped and tipped it to him?
Yeah, and so he like jumped, and instead of like, you know, just trying to jump, come down, he jumped up, saw Lonnie, and threw it right to him. Lonnie goes for the cut, throws it right to Devin. Devin gets the dunk, and so like it was just a beautiful play overall. That like into my next point, our team playmaking tonight was good. It was really good. We were playing. Everybody was playing in the flow of the offense, and the only time that we weren't was at the end of the third quarter into the fourth quarter, where you see it wasn't just particularly Lonnie, but he was the only one that kind of stood out for me. There was like one play where Lonnie literally got the ball, kind of like took a couple of dribbles and then just took a 3-ball instead of, you know, passing it in the flow and finding a better open shot. And so
I do find it funny because I watched it this morning also, and Sean Elliott was saying like, our offense we just started to hold the ball a little too much, and just decided to use up a lot of time, and then wasn't really passing it around, right? So that's what he said. And then like, I don't know, man, like 2 possessions later, Rudy Gay gets the ball, and he's got I think it was Peyton maybe, or he's got somebody on him. Oh, Torrey Craig, and he's kind of like jabbing him a little bit or whatever, and he ends up just like that was his possession. He just jab, pump fake, jab, and then did it again, and then took the jumper and made the jumper, right? And then Sean was like, I love that Rudy Gay's all just taking the time, and then and doing the shot. And I was like, oh my God, it was so funny to hear him say it, like literally two or three possessions apart from each other. Awesome. And I would only say, because I would agree that I was trying to make it a point to watch Rudy Gay and see like, because I knew he had decent numbers, and I just wanted to see like, was he taking over? Was it in the flow? Like, what is his progress report for tonight? What does it look like? And there was only a couple times. I think there was like one time where he caught the ball at the top of the key early in the play. He had 2 guys run up to the top to set screens for him. He had 2 guys, and instead of like moving at all, he just goes right into a 3. And I was like, I don't know if that was the move. Like we had so much, we had so much success last night with high screen rolls, which is something that I wrote down in my notes. Is like, oh my God, like like we talked about it like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was like, can we just do more of it? Because it seems like a very easy way to get into motion. It seems like a really easy way to automatically give yourself a little bit more space. And it just feels like a lot of other teams do it to us all the time. I'm just wondering, like, can we do some of it? And so it was cool to see. I mean, and maybe they felt more comfortable running that with Jakob with Eubanks as their, as their starting five. I don't know, because they know that he can catch up and run to the basket really hard or whatever. I don't know. But we just had a lot of good stuff going on from it. So there was a couple times where I was like, all right, Rudy, like, I don't know if that was the shot, but yeah. It's easier to let those things slide when you're up by 20 most of the game. You know what
exactly.
I mean?
And it, like I said, he wasn't playing. He wasn't slowing down everybody else. Like, you could still see when Rudy was in the game that it wasn't like, all right, it's Rudy's time to shine. Like, it was like, no, Rudy got a couple shots in, but you still saw Lonnie doing his thing. You still saw Devin doing his thing. You still saw DJ and Derek doing their thing.
I do want to add real quick before I forget to the play that you were talking about, and the one that you recorded that little clip of, that ended with the Vassell dunk. The thing that stuck out to me the most about that play, and even in the clip that you tweeted, you can hear it, and this is what I loved, is they made a basket. I think it was a made basket, right? But as soon as that, like, it's our opportunity. I think it was a made basket. As soon as it comes back to it, you can hear Lonnie on the court. Like,
it was off of Chris Paul's missed jump shot. It was a rebound. Okay. Rudy got the board, and you hear Lonnie. I know.
Yeah, exactly. But they kind of fumble it, or there's something, but you can hear Lonnie saying, "Let's go, let's go." Yeah, and so like that is like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, "Let's go, Lonnie," because like that's what we want to see. We want to see those young guys like taking that initiative, right? And like, I think that was the key for like the whole night, is our energy and everything was just like ramped up, you know what I mean? And it was in the right place. And so that was my favorite part, because that brings me reminiscence of like watching a Chris Paul. Chris Paul is the guy who, as soon as a made basket is up, has his hands up and he's saying, "Give me the ball." He's like, "Let's go." And you can hear his voice because he's got that real high, he's a smaller guy. So he's out there like, "Let's go, let's go, let's go," like hard. Rajon Rondo, the same exact thing. As soon as the ball touches that net, he's yelling at his big man saying, give it to me. Let's go. I want it. I want it. I want to do this. So I was super excited to, that one little word of like, come on. I'm like,
yep.
Oh my God.
And exactly, man.
And it resulted, like you said, all the things that you said about what it just resulted in at the other end with the dunk. You know what I mean? So man, I loved it. It was a good night. I will say overall, like, Luka got more minutes. I was surprised. I just looked right now, and Luka had 0 points.
Yeah, so this is exactly what I was I wanted to point this out, because like we had a good game overall, and there's a couple things that I want to bring out, because it was a good near perfect game, but near is not perfect, and there's a couple things that we got to work on. And Luka is not afraid to shoot. I love that. I love that he was being aggressive enough to where he was not afraid to shoot.
Same.
Soon he's got to start making them. You just got to start seeing 1 and 2 for 6 instead of seeing they're up and coming, they're ready, they're gonna be it. You could see from this night that like our guys, when we can put it all together, it's gonna be nice, it's gonna be pretty, But going back to what Luka had said, or what I was saying, Luka, eventually you just got to see that 1 and 2 for 6 instead of seeing 0 for 6. But I'm okay with it right now. We got to see Luka PT, and when he's not playing minutes at all, and then immediately gets to put into the starting lineup, it's like, you're not going to expect to see Luka drop 50 on their heads. So
and he tried. I mean, he even he even got the ball and had Ayton in front of him and just tried to put Ayton on his back. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, well, and that's good. I'm happy.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, at least he's trying to take the initiative through that possession, and you're like, okay, all right.
Oh, and there was like a play where he had it was him and Drew Eubanks, your quote unquote 4 and 5 on the on the court, and you see a pick and roll between them two, and you see everybody else spread out on the 3-point line. They close in because it was Luka and Drew, meaning the paint's gonna go in, or they're going in the paint, and Luka just sees Derek right on the 3-point line, and bam, wide open 3. And I was like, I love to see that. We had a lot of off-ball positioning that was it wasn't as bad as it had been, and we had been like, on that point where you're just seeing those wide open shots and you're seeing them move into the positions to get the good looks. As well as for Luka, even though he didn't hit those 6 shots, he played good defense. He played really good defense. And this is a game where he's going against Cam Johnson and Jay Crowder, which is, I feel like his size against those guys was good. You know what I mean? Those are guys
I wanted to bring that up too, because we had a lengthy discussion last week about him being successful at the 4 or not, right? And my biggest thing was like size, right? So I even went in, like, while I was watching, I had to go look. I was like, let me look up Jay Crowder's height. Let me go look up the average height for like the people who play the 4 position. And the best that I could see was up until last year. So I think Jay Crowder's listed as 6'6", 230 or something like that, and the average height for a 4 is like 6'8". So,
and Luka's 6'10". So
yes, yeah, I think he's listed at 6'11" or something like that. So yeah, so I could it made me think about our conversation a little bit differently last week, and trying to see more situations that he could be successful rather than seeing more situations that he would be a detriment on the defensive end, especially. And then it kind of just brought around though, like especially against a team like Phoenix, they're a little weak down low. They're a little weak down low, and Ayton is their true center, but Ayton has never been. I've never, he's starting to put it together and everything like that. And I'm not wishing anything against him or anything like that, but I've never really felt any kind of intimidation in down low, from his name or his reputation or his game.
Mm-hmm.
So I do agree with what you're kind of saying. Is this was a good example of a game where Luka can be really, really solid at the 4. Like this is the perfect kind of matchup to put him in. So I mean, I will be looking, me as a Spurs fan, I'm gonna be looking for more opportunities like this. Can I see Luka coming in more? You know what I mean?
And even looking back at the Trailblazers game, like I said, like I was saying about how I don't want to see Devin playing against Robert Covington and Carmelo Anthony. Well, I think Luka could do that though. Luka can keep up with Robert Covington, and like Carmelo's a little bit more traditional, but he can still hold his own against Carmelo in the perimeter. He's taller, he's bigger. Like Carmelo might back him down a little bit more to create some space, but if Carmelo's trying to run along the perimeter and doing size ups, Luka's not going to get beat.
Yeah.
So it's like that was just another game that, like, yeah, I know he didn't play, but it was like, if I saw Luka out there, that's like, yeah, that's good defensive matchups, which is something that I could say for us, but not for them, because we took advantage of that. We killed them because Cam Johnson's not a defender. Devin Booker is not a good defender. And like you said, DeAndre Ayton, he's not intimidating.
Is Cam Johnson the one that had the mask?
Yes.
Yeah, I liked him though. He had a lot of good energy.
right soon, man, he's got to start making them. Like, go ahead, sell those shirts. I go ahead, put quoted by Jacob Moreno and everything right there. And like, one of the last things that I want to bring up, because I'm pretty sure I've hit almost everything. Real quick, Drew Eubanks playing out of his mind. Guy's been crazy this week, and he's been stepping up. I've been loving everything that I've been able to see from Drew, and I'm excited to see what we start doing, because honestly, if Jakob comes back and we see Jakob, then Gorgie and Drew coming off the bench, splitting those backup center minutes, eventually that's when I will say we can start taking Rudy out of those minutes. You know what I mean? Those are some free minutes that we can start giving to Devin. We can start giving to Luka. I know that already kind of makes it 11-man if we do that, but it's still
but moving on for the future, you can already see because we've been talking about how depleted we are down low, or how we just
Sorry. I just had to put that up there.
Got to get that residual income.
Of course, man.
We've been talking about it, and so if you can already kind of start to see a big man kind of unit start to form itself with, like what you said, with Yak and Eubanks and Jang and Luka moving on for next year. You know what I mean? And it's not 100% that Gorgie will be with us, but if we can use the rest of this time just to kind of, again, make him feel more comfortable, and just kind of see what we can have. I mean, he could be
or
somebody to
even
kind of be in there. And who knows, that might
yeah,
change if we go and get a guy like John Collins or whatever,
yeah,
or
and
if we
even
try to
then,
go get somebody.
if 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 we're just playing Gorgie right now just to see how that fit is, because I don't think we've ever had anybody like that to play the backup center. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right,
Mhm.
well, let's start running a guy that has Gorgie's play style like that, or we're running Gorgie and stuff this year, so that next year, what if we see somebody in the draft that kind of has that play style? You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm.
And we're just like, oh, let's get that guy. You know what I mean? Like this is what we saw from Gorgie. This is what we feel like we could see from this kid and more. Like
Yeah.
let's pick him up.
Or if you pick him up and you let Gorgie play over him to, as a way of like, like let's for a little bit at least, like
Right.
get acquiesce, and we've already had this guy in now since last year, so he's kind of got his ball rolling a little bit.
And so like that's literally I feel like this entire game like has just been good. The very last thing I want to bring out, Derek is also a point guard. It is not just DJ. Derek can also get those minutes, and I know I had talked to somebody in the Spurs community on Twitter about whether or not Derek can be put on the bench or not, and I feel like that you should always be open, especially when you're the Spurs. You should always be open to having that six man on your bench when you've had 20 plus years of Manu Ginobili on your team.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because you've shown the value of having a deep team, all the
and
time. You know what I mean? You've seen it many times throughout the Spurs career about like we have good enough starters to maintain a lead or to keep a game close, and then our bench will come in to either expand a lead or help shrink a lead if we need it. So we've seen it, we've used it, we've had it as a tool. And I think we would agree, right, that this year it just feels like we're a little like this game. Our bench played really well. This game is not what we've seen all over the course of the season.
exactly, and throughout this game, and honestly, it's so crazy because I know Josh had been one of the biggest critics on Pop for his rotation. This last night, I feel like our rotations were crazy. I feel like
Crazy good, crazy
crazy
bad.
good, crazy good, crazy good. Like I saw Derek bleeding into the second unit because Patty wasn't there to be the point guard. So you see Derek bleed into the second unit, and so like for me, I saw a lineup, and this is why I saw a lineup of Derek, Lonnie, Devin, Keldon, and Drew, and I loved that lineup because Derek had the ball in his hands and he was being the guy who started the plays, but then Lonnie could also have the ball in his hands and he could also start up plays. Devin was just running around the 3-point line doing his thing while also
Yeah,
playing good
and
defense.
shooting well too from the
Yeah,
outside.
and then Keldon was sorry, have I been staticking at all?
I've been hearing you just fine.
Okay, sorry. Some inside information has been telling me that my mic, I'm having some mic problems. So
I don't know. I've heard you just fine. If anybody wants to throw their opinion in the chat, though,
yeah,
that could help us out too. But
I'm hearing
keep
I'm hearing a
keep
little bit of static, but I didn't know if that was me specifically.
yeah, keep going though.
And so and then Keldon can just attack. Like he
Hey,
can
and Keldon, I don't mean to derail you, but Keldon had a couple of good plays where he had the ball in his hand. You're talking about being able to start a play or whatever. Where he had the ball in his hand and kind of went into like maybe like a pull up mid jump shot,
Mhm.
or caught the ball and as like the first option, just decided to like step up into a 3-pointer. Like like there were some things that I saw from him last night that wasn't just I have to be able to get right to the rim or drive into contact or all that kind of stuff. It was a little bit more like, if the defense is going to give me this space, I'm just going to step up into the space and shoot the shot. Like I was glad to see that from him.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, obviously there's not going to be every night that like all of our guys are pretty much on it the way that they were. But even then, like this game showed that, like I said, in the second half, Lonnie didn't play, or Lonnie just didn't shoot that well. I feel like he was still playing decently well. Like when he was on the court, it wasn't a negative to have Lonnie out there. But um Lonnie was out there and he wasn't shooting well, but we were able to compensate for it. We were able to make up for the fact that he just couldn't hit his shots as well as he was in the first half. and we were still making with what we got and still played well for the most part. And so overall, like it makes me so excited to see what this team is going to be next year, win or lose, because you see the foundations, you see the talent, the potential that these guys have for the talent, and it's like I'm just so excited to see what we can do next year. And it not necessarily like I would still be upset if we don't re-sign DeMar. Like I'm very much in the middle of the pack of like, if we re-sign DeMar, I see the goods. If we don't re-sign DeMar, I see the goods as well. And tonight, I hope at least shows people that are so keen on signing DeMar, re-signing DeMar. It's like, well, if we don't sign DeMar, we can still have success. Not necessarily the success that means that we're going to be playoff contending and all that kind of stuff, but it's still going to be success because we're moving forward with the young guys.
Who knows? Who knows? Because the result of last night's game was great team defense. 85 points. They missed a lot of shots, but we just made them work hard all the time. So if we can do that over the course of a season, we can win a lot. We can win a lot of games. Defense will win you games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you said, we're not always going to be shooting as well as we were. The stats ended up being 50-40. 45 of 89, and they went 36 of 90. So we shot just about the same amount of shots, and it's not that big of a difference. 10% is, but I guess what I'm trying to say is we might be closer to the 40 range in some nights, you know what I mean? But if we can have that defensive intensity every single night and make them work that hard, man, it's gonna be fun. And you're talking a little bit about like, man, I can't wait to see for our future. I want us to keep doing this the rest of this year.
Yeah, me too. But
I don't want us to wait.
We have DeMar, so that's like
but
when is that guy?
We were also without Jakob. You know what I mean? We can have good team defense with our starters back in. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want us to just have the same amount of energy, intensity, and making each other work like that. DeMar's not going to be the one guarding Devin Booker. He's still going to see DeJounte and Derek White in front of him every shot that he takes, hopefully. So,
I'm just saying that, like, I'm not saying that it's a negative to have DeMar in the lineup, but it's like, that we're just going to have two different play styles.
Yeah, I do agree with that. And so I can see what you're saying. We felt we had more ball movement, and that would probably go away a little bit
if DeMar
when we get DeMar back. You know what I mean? So we'll see. We had a great team game. You know what I mean? We had a great team game. It was especially coming off of the loss to Portland. It was great to kind of see us coming with the right amount of energy, focus, not have that like, oh my God, we lost another one kind of thing. You know what I mean? And in the grand scheme of things, we do our predictions here. Our weekly predictions, and both me and Josh had us at 3-2 for the week, which is what we went. We went 3-2, could have went 4-1. Had that Portland game, slid a different direction. The Toronto game was a winnable game. So I would say that we played solid basketball for the majority of this week. You know what I mean? Yeah. Even if we didn't play good basketball at certain times, and maybe those were the worst times because they helped us lose a game, we played pretty solid ball for most of this week. So I was pretty excited about that.
And honestly, I'm pretty even on it because it's like we had really good stints, but we had really bad stints. Like, I don't even count the Orlando game because that was a game that we took care of business. But then, like, it should have been the same thing with Toronto. Like, I shouldn't have counted Toronto's game because,
Toronto has way more star power than
but
Orlando.
I'm saying that, like, because of the depleted roster, if we would have beat Toronto, I'm saying it was just like, all right, we came in and took care of business against Toronto. And then we won against Dallas, and we lost against Portland, and won against Phoenix. Like, then I would be saying this was a good week. But it's just that one loss against Toronto without their star power that I'm like,
Yeah,
I can't tell you that this week was that good. Like
I
it
mean,
was.
and again, and again, another one, like you said, we lost to the Blazers without their star. So I mean, I get what you're saying, and depending on how you look at it, you could still kind of see it as a down
Mhm.
week. But I mean, especially when you stack it next to us going like 1-9 or whatever,
Yeah,
like we had shots to win almost every single game. We should have won, but I mean, it's
and
it's the treasure of the season.
I'm not even saying that it was a down week. I'm just saying like I would probably put this pretty even on the week. That it was just like
Well, well, we went 3-2. That's pretty even. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So
Um,
yeah, it was what it was. But it was good. It was good. All right, Jake. What do you want to do? You want to do? You wanted to skip past some of the things. Maybe if we get Josh and we can jump back to him, but we might just shelve them for next week.
Yeah, well, so the first thing on that I would like to talk about is our good old Jakob, the one and only. He has been killing it. I just kind of want to honestly just kind of shine some spotlight on him because even though we had been like in some rough stretches and we just been kind of us on the podcast hasn't really haven't really like said much about it. Like he's been playing really good recently. Like and I think he just deserves to be put up on the spotlight and to be put out like honestly just showing that he's been killer. And honestly, in parentheses, I'd also love to add Drew Eubanks because Drew has been killing it too these last couple of games.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like one of the things that I'd like to hear, one of the things that I want to know is what we have in store for Jakob, and if he is the center for our team or if he's the backup center. You know what I mean? And honestly, I couldn't tell you what I would want for him because it's like I don't think he hinders our offense, but I feel like there's a change in what the NBA is doing, and you're gonna need to start seeing switchable bigs. And so, or I wanna know if Jakob is gonna be able to do that, if he is gonna be able to be a switchable big. You know what I mean? A guy who can switch, and obviously you don't want to see it 9 times out of 10,
Well, what
but
have you seen so far from him? Do you feel like whenever he gets switched out onto the perimeter that he's just like dead meat all the time? Do you think that he holds his own? Like where do you stand right now?
I feel like it like you see a guy like Rudy Gobert, and I think they play him in drop coverage though. They don't play him like the way that we do. Uh, but you see how teams beat Rudy Gobert, which is literally you do the pick and roll and you get the guard on Rudy because Rudy just can't. He's not a switchable big. He's a top. He's the best paint defender in the league, but they're not going to really win games because they're not going to. I feel like they're not going to have
Come on, bro.
playoff
They're number
success.
they're number one in the
I'm
in the
saying they're not
NBA.
going to have playoff success. That's what I was trying to say. When Rudy Gobert can't switch on bigs. Um, and so for Jakob, I see a lot of that. Like I don't know if I would tell you that Jakob's as good of a defender as Rudy Gobert is, but he's still a top 5 paint defender in the NBA. And I feel like there's going to be times where like I it was the game against Brooklyn, if I'm not mistaken, where we were just losing because we had Yak in that drop coverage. You know what I mean? I don't know if you remember that. That was like it was a good bit ago, but it was like literally like we would just they had done like the high pick and rolls, the high screen and rolls, and you would see Nick Claxton just
Okay.
running right across Jakob because Yak just couldn't and it could just be our defense, it could just be our scheme, but it was just like I feel like that was just like it kind of shows like a blueprint for those type of centers in terms of how to beat them. And so I just don't like I love Jakob. I think that he can be good enough to move forward like that, but we'd have to have something to be a contingency in that sense.
Okay. I mean, you started to cut out a little bit on me, so I heard most of what you were saying. I don't know. I find it's funny that you were using the comparison of Rudy Gobert because I mean they're finding success, and obviously they have like Donovan Mitchell and they have a lot of shooters and all that kind of stuff. So their makeup is a little bit different than ours. But just from the point of view of like, I don't know. I think that that's a prime example of how to be successful, even though maybe he's a little bit more of a defensive detriment out on the perimeter, that you can still find ways to kind of help. And also that's kind of like, I think where our stuff would come, it would be from like the help defense, right? And hoping that our wings and our other people can kind of pick up maybe some of that slack out on the perimeter when he gets caught out there. But I don't know. I think he's got good feet work. So I mean, I think that he can do what it can take to kind of like Tim Duncan, how Tim Duncan was a really good paint presence, but he was never going to go super high to go get no balls. He just knew how to use his feet, and he knew how to time. His timing was really good. He would get you down low, like those kind of things. I think Yak can have similar things on his perimeter defense that are just fundamentally sound enough to do the right thing, versus like I'm fast enough to keep up with you kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could also see, depending on if let's say we draft a guy like Claxton or something, right? I can see us having a more traditional center and Jakob being that focal point for our bench kind of thing. I could see that happening as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. But yeah, I would agree with you about just wanting to kind of give him some shine in terms of the amount of effort and energy he's been putting in. And there's some nights where he won't maybe be, kind of like we said the other day, where he won't be as impactful on the offensive end as maybe I would like. But he's out there filling in his role every night. So yeah, shout outs to him.
Yeah, and I mean, like I just kind of I look at like the past like year and a half of like who's winning the chips and stuff like that, because like obviously those are the people that have the blueprints for winning, And at the moment, like you look at last year's finals, and you see that the two bigs that were out there were JaVale McGee / Dwight Howard and Bam Adebayo. And I feel like Bam Adebayo is that guy that I'm like, I feel like we need that guy that can switch like Bam Adebayo can, like the all around defensive guy, and he is smaller than Jakob, but he's still big. He's just like, I think he's like 6'9", while Jakob's a 7-footer.
See, like so in your head though, like you feel that the NBA is headed to a direction everybody will have a center that kind of looks like Bam, like he would be the more ideal 5.
In a sense, yeah, like a guy who's able to just be more mobile on defense and obviously against a speedy, quick point guard, you're not going to want to see that matchup, but you're also a little more okay with Bam Adebayo on the perimeter than you are with Jakob on the perimeter. And so
I can especially if the league keeps trending. And I was telling you earlier, I was looking at the average height per position. I mean, and across the board, that it's like just getting shorter and shorter, especially from the 4 and 5. Though it was like 6'11", 7 foot averages now are dropping into the 10, 9, 6'9", like around where you're saying. I don't know. I would still need more. I'm just barely getting around to the idea of having Luka at the 4, and I'm like, all right, now he's already trying to downsize the 5. Oh no. Because I mean, I love Bam Adebayo. I love his energy, and his everything about his game is really fun to watch. But I don't know if I would start like a franchise with him as my center.
Wow.
And I've seen he did the whole game-winning block against Boston, maybe I think
Jason Tatum.
Yeah, right. So like I know that there's evidence and that he's been successful down there, and he has the effort and the energy, every night, and if he's healthy, for sure. Also, but I don't know. Because you brought up JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard, but I mean, I think about a guy like Anthony Davis, and again, I know not everybody has an Anthony Davis, but I mean that in my opinion, like that's the size that I'm looking for. Like if I'm trying to anchor the paint
And even then though, Anthony Davis does not guard fives. I
Yeah,
know
true.
it's annoying to say that because like you look at Anthony Davis's size, and even for me, I'm like, dude, play the five. Like, come on now, be the big man on your team. But he just is adamant about not being the big man. So they always have a guy like JaVale, Dwight, and this year it's Montrezl Harrell and Marc Gasol. So it
How big is Montrez? I'm gonna look it up.
he's like 6'8", 6'9".
Mm-hmm.
So for like Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee, like at least with JaVale, obviously for sure both of them, you don't want to see them you don't want to see him. I you said Anthony Davis plays the five in the playoffs. Well, I mean I guess that's crunch time at that point, right? It's still
Yeah, well, and I guess that like that's what I'm trying to say too. It's like when it comes down to it, though, when it comes down to it, I would want more size, even if the game comes down to one possession, which a lot of the times it does, right? It comes down to like pins and needles, man, or like one thing sliding this way or that way. So I mean, like that's where I would hesitate to say like I want to put all my eggs the game. I know that he showed that he got the game-winning block on Jason Tatum, but when it comes down to it, like I don't know if I would want to put all my eggs in a guy like or in a sized guy like Adebayo. I'm not trying to knock on just Adebayo, but just the idea of having a 6'9" center versus a 6'11" center, a 7-footer or whatever.
Either way, I honestly think I feel like with the way that the NBA is trending, like we can find success with playing Jakob as our five for the future, but I think eventually we are gonna have to start finding that next guy who can be that switchable guy who can shoot the ball too. Like no disrespect to Jakob, but he's not shooting the ball, and eventually you need that guy to space. Even like Bam Adebayo is not exactly a 3-point shooter either, but he's respectable from the midi and from 3-point line compared to centers at least. So it's like if I'm seeing Bam Adebayo shoot 1-3 a game, and that's like making at least a bit of an impact because he's on the 3-point line running around doing those handoff screens, then it's like, well, if we had a guy like, if Jakob could do that too.
I understand what you're saying, especially because like when we know for a fact right now, 100% that Jakob's taking 0 threes in his next game. You know what I mean? Like and so do the defenses. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying, and especially from the point of view of I would want to have a guy like that on my team to contrast Jakob so that we could have both. You know what I mean? So that especially if Jakob's not. Maybe the matchup isn't sliding his way today, we can flip it around or whatever. I'm definitely open to getting that type of player on the team for sure.
And so that kind of puts me into the next thing, which is, are we gonna try? Would you want to push for free agency, push like to see what we can do for free agency, or keep what we're building in the draft? Like,
well, I mean, regardless, we're gonna have a lot of money. So it's like, let's say your answer is you want to go to the draft. So what are you doing with that money?
Like I'm saying, like you're saving that money in a sense for the core, so that you know that you have the money to pay Lonnie. You know that you have the money to pay.
So you're saying like don't really spend any of it, like keep most of it.
Yeah,
and then just wait. You know what I mean? I think we were talking about it a little bit yesterday, and let me go and actually bring up the Spurs like their contract books or whatever.
And while you're doing that, I'll kind of explain like the situations, right? So that this year doesn't have the strongest free agency class, and of course this is the year that we have the most money in ever. But like we could use that 50 million in cap to go get somebody that's decent, that's good, that we can keep building with. And it's just like I mean, I don't know. Like it seems to me like if we do buy somebody like Lauri Markkanen, or we do buy somebody like John Collins, it's not going to move too much for us. Like we're still just going to be building with the guys that we have. But then, like, eventually, eventually, like, you're looking at the contracts right here. You're gonna need to be
Mhm.
paying Lonnie Walker money. You're gonna need to be paying Keldon Johnson money. You're gonna need to be paying Luka money. And so it's
So
like,
so we are in the 2021 right now.
yep.
So after next year, we will need to pay Lonnie, right?
Hmm.
And then where is Keldon? Oh yeah, so Keldon would be the year after, right? Or no,
Hmm.
I mean, I guess technically it would be 2 years after because we would keep him, on that 3
But
million
so
team option.
honestly, but both of them are up for extensions next year.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Oh, yeah. I see. Just committing the money right away.
because like we extended, if I'm not mistaken, we extended DJ in year 3. Um, and so then like we can extend Keldon next year. We can extend all of Keldon, Luka, and Lonnie next year if we wanted to. And I think the only one that we'd actually try to see if we can commit for money is Lonnie. Uh, just because it's the same thing with like Derek. It was
Hmm.
took him around year 3 to year 4 to get that money. But even then, like I don't know what Lonnie's asking price is gonna be, because I feel like we haven't put him in a position to show what he's got all the way.
Yeah.
But then he, in the time that he's had, I don't think he's put up enough to.
And maybe what would you maybe that's a little part of the plan. As if I'm a Spurs exec, is like, let's keep his ceiling around where we need it to be so that we can offer him a deal that's going to be maybe a little bit maybe he's making a little bit less than Derek and DJ, but like you said, it's because you're able as a Spurs organization to kind of say, like, this is what we've seen from you so far. We would and it's not quite the 16 a year, but maybe we'll give him like 12 to 14 or something like that. I don't know. But I guess to answer your question, then, I mean, I don't know. I would love if next year you look at this exact same chart and you see Derek White, Lonnie Walker, Keldon Johnson, and DJ all on the books, up until 23, 24, 25. You know what I mean? That would make me happy to see them locked in like that. Could I see us going? I mean, obviously we've been hearing this week, especially. I think there was a report that came out saying that like the Spurs were going to make a play for a guy like Laurie, or that they're going to make a play for Laurie, specifically him. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't want to bring in anybody. I wouldn't want to pay somebody like superstar money. I know we're going to have it, but I don't know. I would rather get like 2 guys that are going to like help bolster us than to
That's
try to
exactly
get.
that's exactly what I had said. I had because like if I'm not mistaken, a guy like Cody Zeller is going to be on the market next year, right? And he's not like anything that's crazy for us. But like if we don't draft a big next year, and we still only have Jakob and Drew to
Didn't we already get a Zeller before?
we got Tyler Zeller, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's like if we get somebody like Cody Zeller, and I know he's got some injury problems, but I'm just like, honestly, like he got injured this year, and so that might make his that might make his his cost a little less, and I'm honestly down for that too. Like if I'm not mistaken, he's getting paid around like 18 million.
But
So
his play style would be very similar to Jakob,
in a sense, yeah. But like it's just
so
another guy.
I know,
Another,
but you were just talking about maybe
and
trying to get a different
I'm saying
5.
I'm saying getting a big like that in the draft though,
Yeah,
and so
but okay,
in that
and that's
context,
cool. But wouldn't you want to then use the other roster spot to maybe bolster up like your 3/4
well, and
versus
so
getting a guy
in that
like Zeller?
in that context, if we're drafting a big, then yeah, let's go for a 3 or 4. Like I don't want to sign a guy to keep putting that draft pick down on the rotations.
Mhm.
Sorry, I'm real quick. I'm gonna go switch headsets to go try and fix this audio issue on my side. At least.
Yeah, sure. So kind of like I was saying, like I know we've heard that they're going to be making a play for a guy like Laurie. I mean, I think that Laurie can help us for sure, and that fits right into that spot, being in that 3/4 position. He can shoot pretty well. I know people. I don't follow him that well, so you kind of have to defer to like comments that I've heard from Bulls fans and stuff like that. And some of the stuff that I do hear is about his. Oh my God, man! Look at this, Damari Carroll. Still paying this dude 1.2 next year. Anyways, I know I've heard some Bulls fans kind of talk about his defense, and so that you got to weigh out how you feel he can help us in that regard as well. I honestly wouldn't mind putting money into a 3-4 though, just because, more so somebody who's going to lean in and play a lot of those 4 minutes. I would love to have Luka play a lot more minutes for us at the 4 from the bench next year, and then if we can find somebody, I mean, we've just ran, man. We've ran through guys like Trey Lyles and Damari Carroll and like those kind of guys, and I don't want that anymore at the 4, man. I want to be a lot more solid and a lot more stable when it comes to like that position. So I'm okay with kind of looking for a guy who is, even if we don't spend all that money, looking for a guy who's going to just kind of solidify us a little bit at that place.
Yeah, I get that. I feel like for me personally, like next year, if I know it is positionalist, but if I can think of it like in the most positional standpoint, having DeJounte and Derek as your 2 guards, then having Lonnie as your starting 2 if we don't have DeMar, finding either a second 2 to play, or honestly, if Trey Jones has proven himself enough, start putting Trey Jones into that rotation, right? And like we'd be running Derek at the 2, but Derek would still be running the show of the bench. Then you can either it comes to a point where you can either slide Keldon up and still keep Devin off the bench, or you can start Devin, keep Keldon down, and play Luka on the bench. And in the first option, it was move Keldon up, play Luka at the 4, then play Jakob, and then on the bench you have Devin a position for the 4 and then a position for the 5. You know what I mean? Or if we really want to have Drew Eubanks be our backup 5 next year, then we do that. You know.
I mean, I think first of all, we got Eubanks on the books for the next 3 years. I think that he has never given you any reason to like take away minutes. He's only just like anytime he's out there, he just is either he's right at his same level, or he's showing you that he has a spot for sure. So I think he will play minutes at the 5, no doubt, for the next couple years. Me personally, I would want Luka to be at the 4 on the second unit, and I would want somebody who's a little bit bigger than him to start at the 4.
So you would still slide up Keldon to the 3.
Yeah. Assuming we don't have DeMar DeRozan next year, like you said, yeah. I mean, we have guards. We have so many guards. I don't think that the answer to having that many guards is to play 4 of them at one time. I would rather have 3 of them at one time and spread them out. So yeah, so I would probably go DeJounte. I guess. I mean, I guess let's throw Vassell in there, right? Like you were saying. Yeah, if we win DeJounte and Vassell and Devin at the 3. I mean, sorry, Keldon at the 3. Yeah, and then for the backup unit, it's Rudy. I mean, oh my God, what am I saying? I'm looking at names and it's throwing me all off. Derek White, Lonnie Walker, and then who else would fill in that 3 spot right there?
Well, at that point, there's a free roster spot for that, or like I said, you can start throwing Trey Jones into the rotation, and slide everybody down 1. So you put Derek at the 2, Lonnie at the 3 at that point.
Yeah. I mean,
even if Derek's still running point in that sense, you could still have Trey Jones start getting rotational minutes and start playing.
Yeah, I mean that is the move. I mean, if we're going off of the guys that we have on our roster, then yeah, start to look at Trey and see what he can bring. Now, in actuality, I mean, Trey could be good. I don't know, like what does he shoot from the outside?
I'm just so high on Trey from the G League. So I guess like try and look at his G League stats if anything. But I feel like he. I mean, even if he's not the greatest 3-point shooter in the world, like he has shown like that he's able to keep up with people. Like he's not afraid to be a like defending whoever, you know, like he takes up his matchups and he puts them in strides. He got 2 steals in 10 minutes last night. So it's like I'm excited to see what we can do for Trey. I feel like I know for sure for me at least, when we drafted Trey, I was like, what the heck? Why did we draft another point guard? But then I'm like, you know what? I'm actually okay with this. Like, honestly, I feel like he has the talent, especially because like in the second round, in my opinion, you don't draft second round people for fit. You draft them for talent. You draft the people that you know are going to be projects that you build for talent. And for Trey, that's exactly. I feel like we did that, and we're getting a guy who can be a rotational backup point guard for us in the future out of him.
Yeah. I don't know. I get exactly what you're saying. I guess my disconnect or where I'm trying to see him fit in is being that both me and you are talking about having Derek and DJ kind of take most of those point guard minutes. It makes me feel like, okay, that I don't know if he's proven, you know, how he's going to do as like an off ball kind of guy. I looked at his NBA, I know like you were talking about G League and college, you would get a lot more numbers, but just like the first thing that popped up was his like NBA stats. He's has 0 3-point attempts.
And so I mean, like, I definitely get what you're saying with that, but I feel like the way that I see Trey Jones is the way that we played DeJounte. Now, I don't think he's as good as a defender as DeJounte, but we played DeJounte as an off-ball point guard, and it wasn't the prettiest thing in the world, but we played him as an off-ball point guard and just let him play defense against whoever he could.
Yeah, and then he slowly started to develop his shot, so that now you have to respect him in that era too. So yeah, I mean, I could see not right now garbage time Trey Jones, but I can see next year, the year after, like a progressive thing from him. I could see him. Yeah, I you know, if we can just make him into a little bit more of a spot up.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like his offensive game is a little bit more polished than what DJ was.
Yeah, like, and he's going to be playing mostly like what Patty Mills is playing right now. And so, you know, if you can stomach Patty Mills dribbling around, well, then you can give the ball to Trey and see what he can make as a point guard. That's his, you know, that's his position too. So
exactly, and I feel like he's more traditional than Patty is. Mm-hmm. So it's like I think it wouldn't be a negative to see Trey Jones out there. Like I exactly like I said about DJ in terms of like how I compare him like that. It's like he wasn't as good of a defender as DJ was back when we drafted DJ and was playing him like that. But DJ was not as polished of a scorer as Trey Jones is, and so it's like, I mean, I just think that like Trey can he can start getting rotational minutes next year. Like he can start building his. Especially because I don't see him starting. I don't see him as a starter. Like you see his brother in the league. His brother is a very valuable backup point guard for the Grizzlies, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's exactly what we could use Trey. That's exactly what we could do for Trey. He could be our valuable point guard coming off the bench and you know, be able to for anybody that comes off on our team, you know, like whether it's a mid-season or like a trade in those times, you know what I mean? They're like, hey, this is your point guard. You're going to be working with this guy the entire time, instead of them saying, all right, you're going to run a couple plays with Derek, you're going to run a couple plays with DJ, you're going to run, you know, like guys that you wouldn't be expecting them to do. Because like I know I saw it a couple times earlier in the year with Drew Eubanks, where he had he like you saw him start playing with DeJounte and Derek, and he just wasn't expecting it because he just doesn't play with them as much as he plays with the second string and the third string, you know?
Yeah.
And so then it's like obviously he's gotten accustomed to it, but if we did have a guy that's running the second unit, you know, like this is your guy that's running the second unit the entire time, you know, it helps keep an establishment there, you know? Mm-hmm. And I feel like Trey Jones can be that for us.
Yeah, and we saw last night was literally the floor was there for them because we didn't have DeMar playing, because we didn't have Patty playing. So like we got a glimpse as to see like what options we have in that regard. Drew did ask like what we in our right now we kind of made the assumption, hey, okay, assuming we don't have DeMar, but do you think he leaves, and would you want him to leave or to stay? And I know you said you're kind of in the right. You said you're kind of in the middle. You can see the the good in both.
I'm in the middle, yeah, and personally, I actually would say that it would be better for him to leave because it puts him in a better position, and it puts us in a sense, in my head, it's like it puts us in the position of like, all right, we have to move with the young guys. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing holding us back from playing the young guys now. And so then if DeMar leaves, then it just forces our hand, and so it's like, well, DeMar, go ahead, go with the contender, go do something else because I'm ready for us.
What if DeMar takes the route of more like a Chris Paul and isn't necessarily going after the rings, I mean, not that he had like all the say in the world of going to OKC and going to Phoenix, but just like taking on that role of like that mentor and kind of guiding the next kind of group. Like, what if you saw him take that role with the Spurs as opposed to like,
if he did, then yes, but I just don't see that happening. Like it's just not something that I feel like, especially with how old DeMar is, he can still look to get paid one more time and compete a couple more years before it's kind of time for him to say, I'm going to be a mentor role player type of guy for the rest of my career.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, I mean, I could see him staying, and I could, like you said, I can see the benefit of staying. Even right now, when I was trying to fill up that position 1 through 3 on over the course of the 2 lineups, if you got a guy like DeMar, that helped fill that spot. Obviously that pushed Trey Jones back a little bit, but again, you can put Trey Jones as like, now he's like your 3rd string point guard, you know what I mean? And he's just the guy instead of Patty Mills. He's like a, you know what I mean? So I can see it, yeah, because I mean, again, if we had a thing where it was DJ at the 1, now you put DeMar DeRozan at the 2, Keldon Johnson at the 3, you get a guy to fill in the 4, and Jakob's 5. Then your backup unit is Derek White at the 1, Lonnie Walker at the 2, Devin Vassell at the 3, Luka Samanic at the 4, and maybe Drew, or let's just say Drew for now. I mean, now all of a sudden, like, to me, that's 10 strong. You know what I mean? So
then you buy
and out of that 10, 9 of them are young guys. You know what I'm saying? So like, that does not sound like a bad situation to me at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just think that like in a sense for me, at that point, it comes down to how much does DeMar buy into letting the young guys
featured in the
play.
offense.
Yeah. Instead of us saying this is DeMar's offense and we're gonna run a little bit through the young guys, but at the end of the day, this is DeMar's offense. Or is it gonna be this is the Spurs offense and we're gonna run our team offense like we had done in like 2013, 2014? That obviously it's not gonna win us a championship. Like our guys aren't ready for that yet. But it'll put us in the prime positions to start building up everybody and start seeing exactly what everybody can do together.
Yeah. I agree.
Personally, to keep a bottom line on this, I would say I'd want to keep it in the draft. I would want us to just draft a guy and keep using our money to keep either keep our guys on our team like Lonnie and Keldon, or if we do find somebody that like just kind of comes out of nowhere, comes out of left field that we can pay for and still be able to keep the core and all that kind of stuff, then I wouldn't mind that. I just don't think that this free agent class is all too pretty for us to immediately buy in. I don't want to pay somebody like Lauri Markkanen $20+ million, and I understand that aspect of like, oh, you're a small market, you don't get to be picky about this stuff, but when this is just not that good of a free agent class, like
if anything, the most talented free agent will be DeMar DeRozan. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and so it's like, like when you tell me that I can't be picky about who I want, well, yeah, you're right, I can't be picky about that, But it's like, why would I still overpay a guy that I don't think is gonna be any much better than he is? You know, like it's not gonna if it's gonna put us in a worse position because we're paying Lauri Markkanen $20 million a year, and then we can't pay Keldon Johnson his 17 to 18 million when he comes up for extension.
Now that's exactly like the only thing that I'll be worried about, and I have total faith that the organization is thinking about all of this stuff already too. But yeah, that would be where I would have some issues. It's like, are the decisions that you're making right now in this summer going to be the decisions that make it to where you can't keep all of your young core if you wanted to? Now, if we make the basketball decision that we're going to move some people because of we think that we can be better or whatever, that's up to the organization to make those decisions. But I would hate for them to hinder themselves in terms of their having that option to keep them all if they want to keep them all. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's what I would want. I would want that first versus I mean, unless the guy that we pay money, unless the guy that we pay the money to is the guy that's gonna really push us forward.
Exactly. And I know that, like, I don't want to even say I know, because like it could happen, but I just don't think that this team, like, once they've all hit their full potential, that it is a championship contending team. But it's like, through the draft, we can keep building the core. We can still work with what we have. And so if that means that, like, yes, we extend Lonnie, yes, we extend Keldon, yes, we extend Derek, but, like, let's just say, you know, we do find that guy in the draft, and then we're like, oh, you know, well, now it is kind of, it's coming to a point to where even though we extended him, we need to start moving things. You know what I mean? And so then we do have to move Derek, or we do have to move Lonnie. Well, we extended them because we thought we had a future with them, but now, you know, now it's just time for us to move on a little early. And so it's like, well, we're getting a little something out of that at least, you know, and we're still freeing up cap if we're moving that kind of piece, you know. Whereas, like, if we overpaid somebody like Lauri Markkanen right now, we get a draft pick, but then we still can't keep the core. It's like, what are we gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to have, I don't think we're going to get that guy in free agency this year. So it's like, well, then let's just keep working through the draft, and then let's just keep paying our guys. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
I would agree. I would agree. Like, especially like you said, with the free agency class not being super, super strong, I'm okay to not really overpay anybody. I will say though, like, you know, when it comes to the draft, I'm also okay with, and you'll be tough to convince me otherwise. I'm also okay with letting the draft spot land wherever it's gonna land versus trying to manipulate your season to get a better draft pick.
And I don't think I've ever, or I try not to convey that that's what I want us to do, because it's not like I'm not telling you, you know, let's not. I'm like, for this year, you know what I mean? Like I'm not telling you let's just not play DeMar and play all the other guys, because that would be tanking. You know what I mean? But like, if we traded DeMar for more young pieces for another draft pick, because we're just opening up positions to keep our young guys developing, that's not tanking. That's developing your young guys and just putting yourself, like, not directing yourself towards the first pick in the draft, but you're developing your young guys, and you're just seeing where your draft pick lands. You know, you're not exactly putting yourself on the wrong path of, all right, guys, we're tanking. No, you're like, guys, we're out here. We're going to work to win games. And if we don't, then we're developing you. That's exactly what's happening, you know?
Yes, except if I'm a coach, I'm not saying that. I'm saying just the first half, because we're going out here to win this game.
Like, but you get what I'm saying, though. Like, it's not like I'm trying to say that, like, you know, oh my goodness, we just got to blow it up. We got to already trade Lonnie. We got to already trade Derek. You know, like, this just isn't going to work. No, you keep working with those guys. You keep developing them. And then wherever your draft pick lands is where it lands, because this is a team that doesn't, that like, the Spurs haven't had lottery picks, and we've drafted really well without lottery picks. So you give us a higher pick in the draft, and look where it's going to land us. I feel like Devin is a guy that like, I think he's kind of going under the radar for a lot of people because it's like, dude, we drafted him in the lottery, and he's like, he came out of the gates this good. Nobody else that we've drafted came out of the gates
And
that good.
that's with very, very limited practice time and very limited playing time also. Like he has to do his things in small spurts, and he's still, like, every time he's on the court you see his value, man.
Exactly. And so it's like, and we got that guy with the higher draft pick. So for me, it's like, I'm expecting that. I'm expecting that guy to come out a little bit better than what DeJounte, Derek, Keldon, and Lonnie came out of the draft,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, you give us another higher draft pick and we're going to do something with it. We're not the Kings. We're not the Knicks. We're not those teams that draft high but don't draft the right guys, Like, I don't think you give us the Knicks pick and we're going to draft Kevin Knox. You know what I mean? No disrespect to Kevin Knox, but he's just not, like, at least at this point in his career, he's just not what I'm trying to remember what pick the Knicks picked him with, but he was a lottery pick, So, and even if we do draft Kevin Knox, he becomes a solid rotational piece in our offense because we're that team.
That's so funny.
So, so it's like, I think the draft is where our future is going to be. Like, that's literally how we're going to continue to contend. And it doesn't need to be the first pick in the draft, but if we're just playing the young guys and we end up losing more games than we thought we would, so be it. Now we have a good draft pick. Now we're still continuing to develop talent, and we got somebody else to keep building our talent with. That's the only thing for me.
Yeah, I mean, but it's keep playing the young guys, and if we lose games, it's a little tough. Like, I mean, we only have like 20 games left or whatever. You're not going to see that for this year. You know what I mean? For sure. So,
yeah. I mean, if DeMar just wants to say that he hurt his ankle and he can't play for the rest of the year, well then, just play the young guy.
I honestly, like me, I would much rather see, if I'm a coaching staff, how can I get all the good things that happened from a game like last night? How can I transfer those good things and those good qualities over to when my big guns come back? Because I mean, I think that like I said, the reason we won the game last night necessarily wasn't. I wouldn't say that it's because of our offense getting to move more with DeMar being out or any of that kind of stuff. I would just say that our intensity on the defensive end was locked in where it needed to be. Go ahead.
When you look at it, though, the two faults that people get on for DeMar are his defense and sometimes
slowing our offense down.
And which is the two things that we didn't have, or that we did have to, like, last night. So it was like, we kept the ball moving and we played the hardest defense that we could. Well, and look what happened.
For sure, we did play really good team defense. And Devin Vassell was a big part of that. I mean, no knock on him for sure. But again, how can I bring all of those good fundamentals and those good things over to when Jakob's back, when DeMar's back? Like, that's what I would be trying to do as a coaching staff, versus, well, we play a different kind of style. Let's go away from it. Like, because eventually, or I don't know about eventually, but maybe you have a star player at some point on the Spurs roster, right? You have a star player and you make everybody else be the very, very good, well-rounded role players. Well, at some point, the offense is going to run through your superstar, even if it's not DeMar DeRozan, if it's somebody else. And even if their play style is a little bit different than DeMar, you're still going to have to run it through that person at some point. And so if we can show our guys, hey, how can we still be successful? Because it's not just about DeMar, it's about everybody else. Can you be successful with a guy like DeMar out there? I don't know. Show me. Can you still defend really well? You know what I mean? As a team,
like you said, though, it comes down to, like you were saying, like somebody that has like a bit of a different play style from DeMar. And it's like, yeah, like, if we have a superstar who can shoot the three ball, you know what I mean? You know how much that helps a guy like DeJounte Murray because he has a third guy out there to shoot the three ball? It's like, like it just opens up the floor so much because we don't have guys that shoot the ball that well. When you see DeJounte, he will shoot the ball, but he's just not that good of a shooter. You have Derek who shoots the ball, and at the moment he has stretches of not good shooting and good shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a guy like DeMar who doesn't shoot the three ball. You have Keldon who has been in slumps before, and you have Jakob who doesn't shoot the three ball. Where's your spacing coming from?
Yeah, I get that, but also like a game like last night. First of all, we had a good shooting night. We had a really good shooting night. So imagine a guy like DeMar DeRozan, how he plays and kind of demands attention. But imagine if you feel comfortable and super confident with the way that DJ and Derek and Keldon are shooting it from the outside, you still feel like you have enough, and without DeMar being a 3-point threat. Because again, the action is starting from him and it's working its way out to your shooters.
Right.
And then also yesterday's game, our guys just were much more willing to shoot the ball, and that has zero to do with DeMar DeRozan, in my opinion. Like there's just so many times when we see our young guys defer and not take that jump shot. And last night I felt they were just more free. Now, did they feel more free because they felt the offense was moving around a little bit more? Maybe, I don't know. I'm not in the locker room, but I've seen many opportunities, in my opinion, where they should have taken a jump shot in other games with DeMar DeRozan in the game, and they just don't, or they're just not making them. So I mean, we had a culmination yesterday of they were shooting really well. The other team wasn't shooting that well. Mainly our defense did a really good job of making it harder on them. Like, it was just a lot of things went right in our win yesterday, and with us being depleted down low, not starting Jakob or not having Jakob in the game, Phoenix was not in a position to take advantage of us not having Jakob. They maybe could have with the guy. If Ayton was more of like a Joel Embiid, then we would have been feeling not starting Jakob a lot more, and maybe our offense isn't as loose and free flowing and shooting and all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not ready to throw all of that kind of stuff on DeMar DeRozan being out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand that, and I mean, I don't know. I feel like my favorite type of play that we ever had was the bubble play, where it was literally like first 3 quarters was team ball. And DeMar was in the flow of the offense. He got his shots every now and then. Then the fourth quarter was DeMar's time. It was the time when we gave the ball to DeMar. DeMar was our first option. He was the guy that we were running plays through, and it worked. It worked.
And also you would hope that at that point everybody else is in rhythm because they've been doing a lot over the course of the game. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I would say that speaks to what I was saying, which is how can we have those good qualities but with DeMar? You know what I'm saying?
And I just don't understand why we don't play like that anymore. We had that blueprint of winning, and we won in the bubble. Why did we go back to like this type of DeMar gets the ball at this time? Then we, kind of run like a different situation. Now it's Patty and Rudy are your options. Then we go back to this, and then we go back to DeMar playing as your first option at the end of the game. It's like, well, why don't we just play team ball the entire time? And if DeMar's in a rhythm, then you give DeMar the ball at the fourth quarter. If DeMar's not in the rhythm, then you give whoever is in a rhythm at the end of the game the ball. Yeah. It's like I feel like that's one of the biggest blueprints of winning, and we're not doing that. But I'm not the coach. I'm not the guy who makes those decisions. So clearly there's something that they didn't like about it, that they just don't want to run that anymore. But
yeah, or the people that were the people who missed some bubble games, or the people who just weren't there for that, maybe they don't, I don't know, feel good about putting them in that position or whatever. All right, Jake. Well, do you want to switch over to just kind of talk a little bit about the games that we got for this week? We got another 1, 2, 3, 4 games.
I believe so, right?
Three Eastern Conference teams and then 1 division.
Yep. So that's going to be fun. This is going to be a fun week to watch because tomorrow's the Pacers, and then after that's the Heat, right? So it's tomorrow, which is Monday, we'll be playing against the Pacers. We get a day off. We have the Heat on Wednesday. Then we back to back. So it's the Heat on Wednesday, then the Pistons on Thursday. 1 day of rest. Finish it off against the Pelicans, right?
Yeah.
And so that'll be fun because clearly, I feel like probably two of those games should be like clear-cut wins, and then the other two are going to be fun, competitive games.
Do you? So what are your clear-cut wins?
I would honestly
Detroit
say
and who? New Orleans or
New
Detroit
Orleans.
and Indiana?
I would say New Orleans. Honestly, I actually haven't seen. I'm gonna look up the last 10 for New Orleans real quick because I want to see if they're on a good stretch of games or if they're on another bad stretch of games.
Yeah. Okay. So while he's doing that, we did play Indiana before. That was an overtime loss, 139-133. Justin Holiday 10 points, McDermott with 10, Miles Turner with 18 and 7. Karis LeVert went off for 26 points. I think that was like one of his first games back because he was like injured. I can't remember. Edmund Sumner 15, TJ McConnell 18, and Aaron Holiday 18, and then 7, 8, and 9 from Samson Bitazdi. Sorry if I said that wrong, and Martin. So very distributed scoring, and then it was overtime. I mean, they outscored us 13-7 in overtime. So
at the moment,
go ahead.
At the moment, at least for the Pacers, they're currently 5-5 in their last 10. They lost their last game against the Jazz, and they're actually playing against the Hawks today at 12 before they play against us tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I heard them say that. I heard them say that yesterday that they were going to be on a second game of a back-to-back. It is an earlier game because it's at noon. If they played it tonight. They're about to start, in like 10 minutes. So maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll spend a little bit of time this morning watching some Pacers and exactly. See kind of what are they running through? I mean, like I had brought up before about the last time their scoring was pretty spread out, at least when they played us the last time. So that'll be it'll be a good matchup. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Have we gotten any work if we're going to be keeping anybody out for that game or anything like that? Nothing yet, I don't think.
Not too sure. Do you want to check the IR list for the Pacers?
Yeah, I'll bring that up. I just as of right now on our IR, we just only have Trey Lyles.
Mm-hmm. But so like I said, they're 5-5 on their last 10. They lost their last one. They're playing against the Hawks today, playing against us tomorrow. So that'll probably put them a little depleted if they're still coming off of a losing streak. And hopefully it'll be a time for us just to take advantage of the fact that they're coming off of back-to-back, and we'll have the energy to come in and play.
Mm-hmm. I will say TJ Warren is out for the rest of the season. That was earlier in March, but then yesterday Doug McDermott was out. I mean not playing tonight. It doesn't give any timetable or anything like that. So no Doug McDermott against the Hawks. Maybe maybe he won't go against us also. His last game, he was, but he was one of many people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he was one of like 7 double digits. If we can do today and really role players make a mark on. I mean, Karis LeVert's probably still gonna lead their charge, and Miles Turner will probably still end up getting his decent numbers as well. But I mean, I think if we can temper the rest of the guys, make them feel less, kind of like we were doing against Phoenix, then I feel comfortable. I mean, I feel comfortable playing against them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and honestly, it just kind of comes down to whether or not their guys go off against us. Like if we see TJ McConnell kill us again.
Yeah, I mean, and they're 9th seed in the West, 26 and 29. I would imagine that they're season is a lot of ups and downs, a lot like ours has been. So it's just on like
Well, yeah, when you see
on a
when you
given
see
night who's going to be more in tune with each other. You know.
when you see 5-5 in the last 10, like
Yeah.
dead even, it's like
Yeah.
you know.
Exactly. So we'll probably see a lot of similar things. From what we got going on. So I would feel comfortable enough to say let's go get a win. I mean, we need it. So.
Mm-hmm. And then then the next game will be going against the Heat, and it'll be coming off of a back-to-back if I'm not mistaken. So they're playing against the Nets today, play against the Rockets tomorrow. They get there one day, and then they play against us, right?
Okay.
And so the same thing, like, I mean, we're not coming off a back-to-back, so hopefully, we'll be a little bit more rested than both those teams. We're going to be looking to play against Jimmy and Bam, which is going to be really fun. Because I'm just gonna hear my brother say, "Oh, it's your team against your team. What are you gonna do about it, Jacob?" Like,
they'll probably
like,
just say that it's your team against the Spurs.
that's exactly what they're gonna say. So it's just like I had to deal with that for the rest of this week. See what our brothers have to say about that, and our cousin.
I will say that Andre Iguodala is Andre Iguodala, Gabe Vincent, and Jimmy Butler are all day to day, and they're all let's see, Butler is questionable, Iguodala is questionable, and Vincent is probable for today's game against Brooklyn. So we'll see how that monitors. Like you said, they're on a first game of a back-to-back tonight.
Yeah.
Right? They say they play Sunday, Monday, and then Wednesday. So we'll see. There's a couple more days to see how that pans out. And then Victor Oladipo is out for today's game with a knee injury. Not sure if that's been a multi-game kind of thing or whatever.
Well, I will say that I didn't know that because I don't keep up with the Heat. I keep up with the Spurs.
So I mean, even let's assume that they do have Jimmy, they do have AI, and they do have Gabe Vincent. I guess I don't really know who Gabe Vincent is. No offense, but I don't know. Let's say that let's say Oladipo doesn't go. I mean, they're still that's still most of their finals core.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's going to be fun seeing what we try to do to game plan against Jimmy's playmaking, because I feel like he's a lot like DeMar, but he just gets. It's so annoying that I see it coming from Jimmy, but like I feel like he just gets a lot more foul calls for him, and it's just like I'm like DeMar does the exact same thing. DeMar should be getting those foul calls.
I think Jimmy, his perception though is a little bit more grinded out, a little bit more,
Yeah.
Whereas DeMar's whereas DeMar's is a little bit more smooth. And sometimes it's easier to kind of give when that the offensive player is putting in that effort or whatever, you kind of, I feel, and this is just my opinion, it feels like you're a little bit more inclined to like reward that man for his work, for putting in that work to get to that spot and take that shot or whatever. And DeMar's is more predicated on smoothly getting into his places, and it just looks a little bit more effortless, I think, when he's playing. And so maybe you're just a little bit less inclined because it just looks he kind of lulls you to sleep too as a ref or something. Yeah, because you are correct. Their play styles are very similar. They hold the ball and you can just see their eyes moving and their brains are just going. You know what I mean? They're looking for their spots because they know they can get it, but they're looking for other people too.
Yeah, because I feel like they're both extraordinary playmakers. They both get exactly like you said. Like they both get to the basket when they want to, and they're just looking for their guys while they're doing that. And then I feel like the only difference for them is the fact that Jimmy's just a better defender, and I think DeMar is probably a better mid-range scorer. And so then it's just like I love both of those guys. I like when I became a fan of the NBA, it was like I'm watching Chicago play with Jimmy Butler, then I'm watching Minnesota play with Jimmy Butler, and then I'm watching the Raptors play with DeMar, and it was just so fun. Like I loved watching both of those guys do what they did on the court. Always respected Jimmy for his defense, and I was always such a huge Jimmy fan. Like when he was doing his thing, and when I had heard about all the stuff in Minnesota, I was like, well, honestly, I was on Jimmy's side because I was like, heck yeah, freaking when you go out there killing them with third stringers, like like I'm 100% on your side because you're not telling me that Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins lost the third stringers plus Jimmy Butler. Like,
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I meant too, like about like his perception is that like he's willing to put in the work kind of guy, and
yeah,
that bodes well for you on the court, like during the game, like getting in terms of getting foul calls and stuff like that. Yeah, and we'll get a chance to see. I mean, we just had this talk about Adebayo and kind of him being their anchor, and we're gonna have more size than them, assuming Jakob is playing. We're gonna have more size than them at that position, so it'll be interesting to see like. Do we feel like we have any kind of advantage at that point? Do we feel disadvantaged because of what you said about him being able to space Jakob out? Like, those kind of things.
and like I think that'll for sure be like one of the things that you look for. Like if you see DeMar and Jakob in a pick and roll, and you see DeMar going against Bam, and then you see like a couple plays later, and you see Jimmy and Bam, like in that pick and roll, and you see Jimmy going against Yak. So it's like if you see that on that game, that kind of I hope it would kind of show you what happens, and then hopefully I get proven wrong. Hopefully I see that and I see Yak take Jimmy and compete with him on the perimeter. You know what I mean? But like I feel like that'll be one of the prime examples to show you what is like what the difference between a guy like Bam is and a guy like Jakob is. Not to disrespect Jakob at all.
Which is crazy though. Because I can remember very vividly, like a couple years, rewinding the clock. Whereas if you get a guy like Jimmy Butler and he can make a 3-pointer, but you even just said like you would probably say that DeMar is a better like pure scorer in terms of just shooting the ball. That if you could say to Jakob, that Jakob made Jimmy Butler be like a jump shooter for the night, you would take that as a win. You know what I mean? Even though that's the mismatch out on the perimeter. So it's like, I don't know. I would be okay with him kind of acquiescing a little bit to some of Jimmy's like jump shots if that's where it's going to put him in. But we'll see. Jimmy is a guy who is like probably won't take that he won't take that. All right, he'll just say, "Oh, if you're gonna give me some space, I'm just gonna go eat the space up and really put it in your chest anyway." So,
yep.
We'll be able to see him. Now that in that regard, though, if you're Jakob Poeltl, I mean, he's a big guy. As long as you're disciplined and you're standing tall, maybe make him think twice about going into the paint against you.
If I'm not seeing a foul call, then heck yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that'll be fun, and then hopefully our perimeter guys, maybe even if we get some more Vassell minutes to go and see if he can hold down a Tyler Hero or a Robinson from getting off some good looks. We did such a good job against Phoenix, like just not giving them easy looks at the three, like. That was so great to see. I think from what I remember, the time that I watched, it only happened 2 times that I can remember where they just got a really wide open 3-pointer off of maybe a miscommunication or a something, right? It was such a welcome thing to see, was like how hard we were making them work. So we'll see if we can keep that up. But yeah, that'll be one of the grinded out kind of games for sure. But it'll be fun. We are moving. We're moving on to Detroit. Real quick, I want to see. Have we played Miami yet though this year?
No, we haven't played Miami yet this year.
So all right, so this will be our first look at them, which is good. Cool. We did see Detroit already. That was one of our like take care of business kind of games. Which was good. Their leading score last time we played them, we had a 10-point victory, 99-109. Their leading scorer was Josh Jackson with 15. Jerry McGrant had 14. Magruder had 13. So nobody really like took that. Nobody kind of led the charge for them. So, hopefully, if you want, I don't know if you want to look up what their current
for the Pistons.
Yeah, Detroit. Yeah,
standings they're currently 17-40. Their last 10, they're actually 4-6 in their last 10. And so they're going to be going on they're coming off of or on a back-to-back. So they're playing the Mavericks on Wednesday, and then they're playing us on Thursday. So
Oof,
it's
tough for them.
another team that we're playing coming off of back-to-backs. So we're
Yeah.
getting lucky in this week, and we have to take advantage of these
Yeah.
teams that are going to be on these back-to-backs that are going to be gassed and tired while we're having those one day to, like, obviously we're only having one day of rest compared to a team not having a day of rest, but that still can, that can still put us over the hump. That can still keep us from not being able to squeeze out a win against the team. And against Detroit of all teams, it should just be not even squeezing out a win. But
they're playing a team the night before that has reason to keep winning their games because the Mavericks are trying to stay up ahead of Memphis, and I would imagine, especially after hearing Luka's comments, that they're if they can try to push into that sixth spot and avoid the whole play-in, they would probably rather do that. So I mean, it'll be tough for Detroit to kind of have that back-to-back for sure. Dennis Smith Jr., Rodney McGruder, and Sekou Doumbouya, they all missed yesterday's game. Doumbouya is listed as day-to-day, so I don't know. It's a neck injury. Magruder's elbow. Smith is a knee. So just things to monitor. They might be playing, but they could possibly still be out if it's a lingering thing or whatever.
I'd love to see us play against Dennis Smith Jr., another guy that is getting to the point where I was starting to get interested in the draft, start seeing like the young guys, and Dennis Smith Jr. gets drafted to the Mavericks, and I see him play, and I'm like, bro, I like that guy, I really do. And then he gets traded to the Knicks, and I'm like, oh no, like I just start go downhill from there. So to see that he's like resurging a little bit with Detroit, I'm happy. I want to see him still have a good, successful career because I do like Dennis Smith Jr. a lot.
Yeah. Same. Like the most of the time that I remember him was when he got drafted to Dallas. Didn't really watch him too much when he went to the New York, but I do know that I guess his name and kind of his skill or his reputation kind of fell off a little bit when he went over there. But yeah. All right.
Stop making races about him.
So we finish the week with it's pretty important, man. That division game against New Orleans. So let me
New Orleans.
We're 2.5 games above them right now for the 10th spot. I feel confident in our ability to keep it, even against Sacramento and New Orleans. I don't think that we dip below 10 for this year. But let's not a quick way to open that discussion back up is by losing to the Pelicans again, you know what I mean, and closing that gap.
Yeah, if we even if we lose any of these games this week that shouldn't be losses, then it's just going to be even harder for us to stay in that race. And this game especially.
I would say if we're looking to move up for sure. I don't know, in terms of where we're at though, I feel like the teams around us, like Dallas and New Orleans, and probably even Golden State, I haven't watched them as much, but they're probably just as up and down as we are. I mean, that's why they're right in the same position in terms of the standings. So I do get what you're saying about we got to take advantage of our opportunities because we don't know what's happening around us. But I also, just looking at the trends, I think that we're all going to be kind of in I think all four of those teams are going to keep riding some waves, you know what I mean? So it's just can we catch and take advantage of our time when take advantage of our opportunities.
It's kind of crazy too, man, because you look at the last 10 for Grizzlies, or Mavericks, Grizzlies, Warriors, Spurs, and you're literally seeing Mavericks, Grizzlies 6-4 and 7-3, and then you're seeing the Warriors 5-5. Then you see us 3-7, and so it's you're just seeing how they are just kind of able to stay up there. The Warriors are just being able to stay even, and then we're just kind of slowly but surely falling down. And so I mean, it's just but
I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like because we were not playing really well, but I think that we've kind of hit that I think we've already kind of bottomed out. I think that this is our bottom where we are. I don't see us dropping below it personally.
I get that. And hopefully we don't.
So they. Oh, go ahead.
That, like, I just saying, like, hopefully this week just continues to come off the momentum of the Phoenix game in order to keep us going ahead.
I agree. And so we played New Orleans in December and lost that one. That was the one that was like real early in the season. We had a game that got postponed against them, and then we came back and we beat them by a pretty close game, 114 to 117 in February. Brandon Ingram had 29, Zion had 23, Eric Bledsoe with 19, Hernan Gomez with 12, Lonzo Ball had 16, and then their assists were pretty spread around 5, 5, 3, 4, 4. So I mean, they're kind of like us too, man. Like they have a lot of talent, and sometimes they don't really defend very well. So they just be giving up a lot of points. So our opportunity to beat them, it's there.
Yeah, and so this is the game though that both of us are not having like a back-to-back. We're both playing on Thursday, get our day of rest, and we're coming in. And so then they are 4-6 in their last 10, lost the last 2. That's like their streak right now. And like you had said, they're 2.5 games behind us. So we'll see what comes into this week, because it's like, excuse me, because going into it, it's like we're playing against teams like we should technically be at least 2 games won by the time we play against New Orleans. And so then we're gonna be going against them like that, and then they, we'll see whatever they're doing. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, I saw that they're playing against Brooklyn, so that might, they're playing against Brooklyn this week, but then they're also playing against the Magic and the Knicks this week, and so it's like
Knicks have been playing good ball though.
Yeah, they have been playing good ball, and that'll be nice. They actually played against the Knicks earlier this Wednesday, and lost to them. So we'll see if they continue like to lose again against the Knicks, and we'll see honestly like what the momentum is building in at the end of this week. It's going to be a cool week to see what the closing in is. We're both playing against one good team, and I feel like honestly like the way that this week is playing out for both teams, for both New Orleans and the Spurs, playing against the team that you should just go in and take care of business, playing against the team that is solid enough that like they could get a win over you, or you could get a win over them, and it could kind of go either way. And then you're playing against a team that you technically should be outclassed, but let's see if you can get the W over them. You know what I mean? And
it is an important. It is because it's 1-1 right now. So if we win, then I think that too is like if we take care of our business for this, culminates in us being. That is, opinion, like dropping below 10, because we'll own the tiebreaker over them. We'll be probably around 2.5 to 3 games ahead of them anyway. You know what I mean? So I mean, we could really have a good spot for us, by taking care of these games this week for sure. New Orleans, Josh Hart is April 6th, and that took him out for 3 weeks. Nickeil Alexander-Walker also has a left ankle sprain. Same day, April 6th, he was ruled as out, and then he'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks. So he might be back. Alexander Walker might be back. Josh Hart, I would imagine, probably is not going to be back. He had a torn UCL in his.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And just looking at the last game, though, it's going to be a way different game because, I mean, Trey Lyles had 36 minutes. LaMarcus Aldridge gave us 21 points in 23 minutes. Like, our offensive, our makeup was just way different at that time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it'll look
defense does against Zion too.
Yeah, it'll look different.
How that works out.
That was another game that Luka Samanic got some minutes, 14 minutes, 5 rebounds, 0 points. But again, that's all good. So we'll probably get a lot more Eubanks, a lot more. Maybe we can. This is out Zion or pull some people away. Those things that down.
All right, and then Chris. Oh, sorry. What did you say?
No, this same thing. It'll be a good week. We'll learn a lot about our team over these 4 games.
Yeah. All right. So Josh had already sent me his prediction. What do you have for your week?
One more time. With you on Detroit. I want to be greedy. Our top 10 spot. I would love for us to go 3-1 on the week.
3-1 on the week, right?
Yeah. I that Indiana will be close. Miami will be close. New Orleans will be close, but I think that it's necessary for us to beat. It's necessary for us to get these wins, and I think that we have the tools to win close games against any of these teams. So yeah,
yeah, for sure. I honestly pretty much agree with you. Like, I'll kind of throw in my positive week of every now and then. But Josh has said 3-1. You said 3-1. I said 3-1. I feel like we should definitely just take care of business in Detroit. Indiana will be a fun game, but we better not let TJ McConnell do what he did against us last time again this time. And then New Orleans, honestly, like they're not in the right situation. They have all the talent in the world. I feel like they have so much talent that they could be playoff contending, going past the second round at this point, but they just don't have the right fits. They don't have the right stuff that's like getting them into those positions, because they have a guy like Steven Adams playing with Zion Williamson. So it's like they just need to change it up. They need to start figuring things out to help that organization actually do good things. And so it's not good right now.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Well. I mean, unless you have anything else to add, I think that we had a lot of good things to talk about this week for sure. I mean, like we said, a lot of different wins, a lot of different losses. So I would imagine that. I mean, I would imagine that we're probably gonna have just as much to talk about next Sunday.
For sure.
So we will know, like I said earlier, in my opinion, we'll know a lot more about our team in terms of what our play-in kind of situation is going to look like, and I think we're going to see a little bit more of that kind of stuff start to solidify, especially if we do the things that we need to do over this week and get some wins. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. We're going to go ahead and head out. Thank you guys for being here. We had like a good solid 4 to 5 people watching on like the YouTube on the YouTube feed, which is great, because normally most of our views like that happen like live. Most of our live views come from Facebook. So to have more people up on the YouTube platform this week was cool. And as many people as want to jump in, we had Drew, Juan, we had my dad Thomas, and Jackie jump in as well. So we had some good comments. We're so open to letting you guys into the conversation as well. I mean, we love to talk ball. Just yesterday we got a chance to kind of meet up and kind of see each other in person, and man, that turned into a good between the four of us plus some extended family and stuff like that, it turned into some pretty good basketball talk yesterday as well. So we do this regardless, right? And we have fun doing it regardless, but having more people join in on the conversation and with us on Sundays is something that we would love. We would love for that as well. Because not everybody thinks like us, especially when when we get on the Twitter account, it's easy to see that not everybody thinks the same, which is fine. For sure. It's fine. So thanks for anybody who joined in. If you're watching us on a replay, thanks for checking us out. Click the like button, share it around, do all of those things. It helps us get our stuff out. Give us a follow on our Twitter account at Heroes Half Court. You'll hear us tweet mostly during the games, but we tweet sporadically throughout the week, mostly basketball related, but it's fun to engage with talks in there as well. So just find us if you enjoy hanging out with us and hearing our thoughts. Just find us. We're around. But we will be back here next Sunday. next Sunday to bring you another episode. We'll just keep on talking. We got I don't know, man. How many more of these episodes we got until play-ins would even be a thing? Maybe like 4 or 5, 3 or 4.
Yeah, something like that, right? Like the end of May we'll be getting to that point.
Yeah, we're marching right along. This is our first on the, and hopefully we'll be able to kind of have some post game. Some post coverage. You know, be able to not have like off season last year. But anyways, guys, thanks for joining us. Let's get some good wins this week. Go Spurs, go! All that good stuff. Jake, you got anything else you want to say before we head out?
Just to say, like, sorry for the little bit of the technical difficulties that are happening. This one, it's like the first time that it's happening to me. I'll be working to try and fix it, to try and see what's up with my headsets and what's going on with my audio on my side.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, it's like I tell my students all the time. It's like we do what we can with the internet, right? I mean, the internet's going to be good some days, going to be bad some days. It is what it is. I think. Yep. I think. Where is it at? I'm going to bring it up real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Because I had even changed headsets and I still kept hearing like some static from Chris, which I think is just still coming from my side. So we'll see. I gotta
on my end, clear the whole time. I mean, when you switch to the headsets, it does sound more a little, like more like old school radio kind of, but not necessarily an interruption thing. But whatever. That's that's the least of our worries and things. So, anyways, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next Sunday. All right, peace out, guys.